In a quiet American city, a mysterious theft shocked everyone. A wallet disappears from a locked apartment, and the police had absolutely zero leads. The case seemed destined to go cold before it even began. It was a perfect crime, or so it seemed. The victim, a tech entrepreneur, returned home to find his apartment ransacked. The front door was forced open, but strangely, only one thing was missing: his wallet. Nothing else. Not the expensive electronics, not the jewelry, just a simple leather wallet. To the initial responding officers, it was a bizarre but minor crime. But to one detective, something felt deeply wrong. This wasn't just a random burglary, it was too precise, too targeted. The thief had taken something specific, and that meant they had a motive beyond simple greed. Detective Miller arrived at the scene, his flashlight cutting through the dim apartment. He surveyed the chaos, overturned drawers, scattered papers, but his eyes kept returning to the empty space on the bedside table where the wallet used to be. The forensic team had already dusted for prints, but the thief had been careful, wearing gloves. The apartment was a dead end. As Miller was about to leave, a glint of something unnatural caught his eye. There, on the edge of the table, almost invisible to the naked eye, was a single tiny fiber. It was a dark, almost iridescent blue. It was so small, it could have been anything. But Miller had a hunch. He carefully collected it in an evidence bag. This single, minuscule fiber was the first and only clue in a case that had no witnesses, no prints, and no apparent motive. The investigation began with witness interviews. A neighbor recalled seeing a shadowy figure lurking in the hallway around midnight, but their description was vague, just a tall person in a dark jacket. It wasn't much to go on. The building's security cameras were old, and the footage was frustratingly blurry. You could make out a figure leaving the building shortly after the estimated time of the break-in, but their face was completely obscured. All the camera gave them was a direction of travel. The person headed east, on foot, disappearing into the city's labyrinth of streets. The detectives were back at square one, with a blurry photo and a single fiber. The pressure was mounting. The media was starting to call it the ghost theft, and the department was looking for answers. But Miller held on to that tiny piece of evidence, convinced it was the key. Meanwhile, the single blue fiber was under a microscope at the forensic lab. The analysis came back with a stunning revelation. It was a synthetic material, a unique blend of polymers that was highly unusual. The lab team ran it through their database and got a hit. The fiber was used exclusively in a limited edition line of jackets from a high-end outdoor brand. Even better, records showed that only a handful of these jackets had been sold in the entire state, and just 2 in their city. This was a massive break. However, the fingerprint analysis from the apartment came back completely clean. The thief was a ghost, leaving no trace of their identity behind. The mystery deepened. They had a clue about what the thief wore, but no idea who they were. The case was a paradox. They were getting closer and further away at the same time. Detective Miller and his team began the painstaking work of building a timeline. They knew the thief left on foot, heading east. They started pulling transaction data and cell phone pings from towers along that route, hoping for a lucky break. The victim's stolen credit cards were a bust. The thief never used them. But then, they cross-referenced the security footage with traffic cameras from the surrounding blocks. A camera 3 blocks east caught a figure matching the description getting into a dark sedan. They couldn't get a license plate, but they had a vehicle. Another piece of the puzzle fell into place when they tracked the GPS data from the victim's stolen phone, which the thief had foolishly left on. It pinged once at a gas station miles away before going dark. A detective was dispatched to the gas station, and on their security footage, they saw the dark sedan again. The driver, wearing the specific blue jacket, paid in cash, but their face was still hidden by a baseball cap. The net was slowly closing. With the jacket as their primary lead, the police obtained the sales records for the 2 jackets sold locally. One was purchased by a woman who had a clear alibi. The other was bought by a man named Leo, a former IT technician with a minor criminal record for petty theft. Digging into Leo's background, They found he'd been fired from a tech company 6 months ago for attempting to sell company secrets. His motive was starting to become clear. He was skilled with technology and desperate for money. The victim, a rising star in the tech world, would have been a perfect target. On the detectives' board, Leo's photo was now circled in red. Sticky notes with his habits, known associates, and last known address surrounded it. The red strings of the investigation were all leading to one person. The team set up surveillance on Leo's apartment complex. For 2 days, there was nothing. The lights were off and there was no movement. The detectives wondered if he had already fled. But on the 3rd night, the lights flickered on. A figure matching Leo's description emerged, got into a dark sedan, and drove off. The stakeout team was on him in an instant, tailing from a safe distance. The tension was palpable. Every turn, every stoplight was a moment where they could lose him. They followed him across the city to an industrial warehouse district, an area known for illicit dealings. He pulled into a dimly lit alley and got out of the car. This was it. The team moved in, ready to make the arrest. But as they approached, they saw him meet with another person, handing over a small, familiar object, the stolen wallet. Just as the team was about to move in, a call came from the lab. They had been examining the victim's wallet, which he had described as a smart wallet. Buried deep within the leather was a microchip, a custom-made GPS tracker the victim had been developing. The police had completely missed it. The tech team at the precinct quickly activated it. Pings started appearing on a map, showing the wallet's real-time location. But something was wrong. The pings showed the wallet hadn't been with Leo the whole time. It had been moving independently, traveling to a different part of the city before meeting him at the warehouse. The realization hit them like a ton of bricks. Leo wasn't working alone. He had an accomplice. The simple theft was now a conspiracy. The person he was meeting in the alley wasn't a buyer. They were his partner. With the GPS pings from the microchip, the police had the exact location of both suspects. They triangulated the accomplice's position to a nearby apartment building. The raid was planned in minutes. Tactical teams moved on both the warehouse and the apartment simultaneously. At the warehouse, they arrested Leo and his accomplice, a woman named Nina, who turned out to be the victim's former business partner. In her apartment, they found a treasure trove of stolen data and prototypes from the victim's company. The wallet wasn't the target. The data stored on the hidden chip was. The break-in was a high-tech corporate espionage plot disguised as a simple burglary. The evidence was overwhelming. The jacket, the car, the digital trail, and now, the stolen tech. In the interrogation room, faced with irrefutable evidence, Leo and Nina confessed. Nina had masterminded the plan, bitter over a business dispute with the victim. She knew about his smart wallet prototype and hired Leo, an old acquaintance, to steal it. She was the one who entered the apartment, using a key she had copied, while Leo acted as a lookout and getaway driver. Their plan was to extract the valuable data from the chip and sell it to a rival company. They thought they had committed the perfect, untraceable crime. They had accounted for fingerprints, cameras, and credit cards, but they never imagined that a single, microscopic fiber from Leo's jacket would unravel their entire operation. In the end, it was that one tiny clue, the fiber on the wallet, that solved what seemed like an impossible crime. It was a testament to the fact that no matter how clever a plan is, there's always a loose thread. For Detective Miller, it was a reminder that the smallest details often hold the biggest secrets. As the sun rose over the city, the case was closed and justice was served. All thanks to a piece of evidence no bigger than a grain of sand. If you love stories where brilliant detective work cracks the toughest cases, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have more incredible true crime stories coming your way. Thanks for watching.